going to do today, all right? We are going to, I'm gonna do a little mini cultural diversity presentation with the PowerPoint, just like literally probably 10 minutes. I just want to hit a couple of definitions so that as we talk about cultural differences with our panel, that you kind of have some terminology under your belt, because I just know all of you studied that before your test this morning, right? Okay, I know. And I am going to be asking for some of you guys to volunteer to be on the panel, because I think that we have a really nice, diverse group of students in here. So I would really, I know you're going to do it, and then, yes, he's going to do it. So just so you know, the video camera is not going to be a video that we're going to put out on YouTube or anything like that. In fact, your classmates won't even see it, because I only record it because in future semesters, if I'm not able to do a cultural diversity panel, I will assign it to the class to watch. So if that's the case, it's only loaded into my course, so only people that's in my course would be able to see it. So just for you guys that are going to be on it and recording, I did one of these cultural diversity panels about 5 years ago, and this is the first one that I'm doing since then. So that's why I'm kind of wanting to record it again, just in case time doesn't allow for me to do it again for another couple of years. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. Okay, before we get started, and I invite everybody up, I do have a couple of people that's not from the class that's joining us today. And this is my eldest son, Robert.
Hi, Robert. Hi, guys.
He's my, I always get to say, he's my 36-year-old. So I think he looks very young, but he's using, I told him you've been using anti-wrinkle cream since you were 16.
That is true.
So yeah. And then this is my good friend, Frederick, former student. I had him last semester in my fundamentals class. I adore him. He is so compassionate. He's going to make a great nurse. And he's going to be with us today. So you'll see him. He's a semester ahead of you guys. So if you ever have questions, he survived me and nursing process. So that's saying a lot, isn't it? It is. I'm tough. All right. So they're joining us from not here in the class, but I do want to kind of just go over a few definitions as we get started, because I really want the majority of the time to be spent talking about different cultures and how does that affect us in healthcare. What are some things that maybe you can take from this lecture that you can even maybe live a better, more accepting, diverse life yourself, but also how are you going to care for your patients that are different than you are? And how does this translate into healthcare? First of all, what is a culture? Culture is a shared, learned belief, values, norms, life ways of a particular group and how they think. So here in America, we're a culture, right? Right? Yeah, okay. But you guys are also, the next definition, which is subculture. And a subculture is composed of people that, again, have a similar belief system. They belong to a larger cultural group, but they also belong to a smaller cultural group. So you guys are all Ivy Tech nursing students. And not only are you Ivy Tech nursing students, you're the Indianapolis campus nursing students. So this is also the subculture that you belong to. Excuse me. And we're going to find also that as we talk to different people on our panel, we're going to find out that yes, they belong to their ethnic culture as a whole, or their group as a whole, but then they also belong to some of the subcultures. Race, and when we think about race, we think of basically 5 major categories, and that would be American Indian or Alaskan, Asian, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders, and white or Caucasian. Diversity, we hear that term a lot, don't we? Oh, well, we need to be more accepting of diversity. We need to be more accepting of diversity. What does the diversity really mean? And this is a factor state of being different, not only between cultural groups, but also within cultural groups. And you can be different for a variety of reasons. Race, sexual orientation, religion, all can make us different. And how do we learn to be accepting? Again, cultural diversity, this has to do with your racial, ethnic origins, religion. It can be related to physical space, age, gender. Disabilities can make us part of a different culture. Socioeconomic, occupational, geographical, all things that we think about with culture. Cultural awareness. This is something you have to do consciously, all right? You have to think about this. And it's the conscious, informed recognition that there are differences and similarities between us. And then how do we be sensitive to those that are different? And that's making a conscious decision to respect their culture. Even though we may not understand all the parts and pieces of it, how do we respect them? And being culturally competent is we're going to actually utilize their culture to help care for them. So when you have someone who you're taking care of that's from a different ethnicity, and they ask you to do something, are you going to automatically think, oh no, I don't think I feel comfortable with that, I'm not going to do it, or are you going to try to work it into what you're doing? In last class, one of the students shared that she works at a long-term care facility and that this lady that they were caring for was about to pass away. And the family came in and started asking, we've got to move the bed, we've got to move the bed. And they wanted the bed moved to where it faced what? Window. No? Mecca. Right? So they wanted it to face Mecca because in their belief, and I believe, does anybody know, isn't that Muslim? Yeah. Yes. That they need to be facing that direction when they pass. Because it's their belief that it has to do with the afterlife, and I'm going to be honest, I don't understand all the aspects of it. But absolutely we can do that, can't we? And good for her, because she didn't go ask the charge nurse, she didn't go ask the nurse, she did it. She made it happen for the patient and for the family, which was very comforting for the family. I cared for another lady once who is of Asian descent, and she had delivered a baby, and normally within a few hours we get them up to the bathroom, we teach them how to do their peri-care, how to clean themselves, that sort of thing. And because she very much believed in the theory of hot and cold, she believed that if she got cold or chilled at all, it could bring harm to the baby. So I had to talk with her and find out within her culture, what could I do for her and still get the peri-care done? Because we had the thermostat turned all the way up as high as it could go, and she was covered in layers and layers and layers of blankets, and was not supposed to get out of bed. It was against their culture to be up that quickly after birth. So we devised a plan. I said, and I just asked her, I said, tell me what I can do. I said, I know you can't get up, you can't get chilled. Can I just lift the blankets up over your knee, not pull it all the way down, but just lift it up and kind of do your peri-care for you, as long as I'm using warm water, I don't let a draft hit you to where you would become chilled. And we came up with a plan that I could still provide peri-care to her, but within the guidelines of respecting her culture. So that's what I'm talking about. Stereotyping, we do this a lot in our country. We're kind of really bad at it, aren't we? It's assuming that all members of a culture or ethnic group act alike. I was trying to talk my daughter into coming in today, but she totally poo-pooed out on me. But that's okay. I kind of like to use her for this example. She's Asian, she's from China, and now stereotypes can be positive or negative. right? So let's think about Asians. When we think about Asians, we think they're all what?
Good at math.
Good at math and super smart, right? I mean, be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they play the violin. Right? Violin. Yeah. 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 So, I mean, that's very true, right? I mean, it's a stereotype. I mean, it's a positive one. But are all Asians smart? No. Are they all good at math? No. But we think that, don't we? Okay, I'm going to challenge you in a different way, and this one's not so nice. And I'm going to say it because I today want to challenge you in how you're thinking. And some of the things that I might say, I'm saying them because I'm trying to get you to think outside of your box, not because I believe them. All right, so let's get that straight right off the bat. You're at a buffet, and you see someone very overweight at the buffet. What do you think? Well, let's be honest.
He's about to slam that buffet.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, we stereotype people, don't we? We see people that are extremely heavy, we automatically think what? Big eaters and they're lazy. Y'all are being nice, right? Because I know what you're thinking. All right, I know what every one of you are thinking right now. And what do you think when you see a black man in a hoodie walking down the street? Huh? Trayvon Martin? Yeah. Racial profiling, right? Do you reach up if you're a woman and lock the door on your car? You probably should be doing that no matter what color their skin is, though, right? Look, that might be prejudice against men, but we do, right? We do that to try to stay safe. But is every black man that's wearing a hoodie a criminal? No. Are some? Sure. Are some white people wearing a hoodie a criminal? Yes. Right? So, what I'm trying to get...
I have a question about that. Isn't that more judgmental than racist?
It's...
Because in personal experience,
well,
it doesn't...
Yeah.
I mean, judgmental is based...
That's prejudice.
In a way, though, but I mean, you have judgments based on people's behaviors, actions, and their
you would
themselves to protect yourself.
Well, and
I don't care what color
it's more about biases rather than prejudice. Prejudice is when you then take those beliefs about a group of people and you do something negative because of those beliefs. So you treat people in a negative way because of those belief systems. So it's, yeah.
You just have to take into consideration too what side town you might be on too.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you have to, I'm not saying that when I go to a place to shop, I don't care whether it's in my town of Fishers or whether it's at Lafayette Square. I've shopped at both locations. I was a West Sider for years and years. Doesn't matter to me. I look around my surroundings before I get out of my vehicle. I see if there are other people walking about so that if I scream, hopefully one of them will protect me. So it doesn't make any difference to me whether I'm at Lafayette Square or I'm at, I don't know, Castleton Square or an outdoor mall somewhere that's near my home. It's just, that's a matter of safety. I'm not doing that because I'm fearful that it's a black person in a hoodie necessarily. I'm just doing it to be safe because I don't know my environment, right? So it's how we think about things. Cultural imposition. This is the belief that everyone should conform to the majority belief system. Oh, and we do this in our country too, don't we? I'm gonna challenge you on one. And I mean nothing disrespectful to anyone in here that this applies to. I am doing this because I'm trying to get you to think about how we are biased, how we stereotype, or how we are prejudiced. What about people trying to come into our country from Mexico? How many of you have heard, well, if they're coming here, they need to speak English? Yeah, that you hear. Yeah, that you hear. We hear that one all the time, don't we? Well, if they're doing this, huh?
None of us are Native American.
True. So, no, I don't either. So, do you see what I'm saying? Ooh,
But if you go to
quiet
their
on
country,
that
they
one,
expect
man.
you to speak
Did that one hit a little close to home?
But if you go there, if you go to the same way, like if you go to somebody's they don't.
Listen up, guys.
You have to think how bad their situation is in their home country for them to leave and come to a country where they don't know anything.
Right.
They don't speak the language.
Right.
Like, how bad off does that have to
Be for them to want to come here. Right, right. But we hear these comments, don't we? We hear them. And
Some people are ignorant, but you gotta, I mean, I do think that English is the language of America, but we have so much available, like even our driver tests are available in like 12 different
Right.
languages. We have, I mean, you call any kind of bank or anything, they've got options to be able to translate it. But I still think, like, if you go to any country, you should try to learn the language. And you don't have to know it immediately. Like, if I go to France right now, I might be able to say bonjour, but that's about it.
right.
But they're gonna expect it if I were to say it. Because they're not gonna, I mean, it depends on where you're at, but
We're the only country that does not
Most-
make.
We're the
our
only country that does
school
not
children
teach a
learn
foreign language.
another
Right.
language. They're
Right.
learning-
I do agree with that.
Right.
That is cool. Yeah, that's absolutely
So
true.
we're the only country, developed nation, that we do not include foreign languages.
In
In
elementary
our-
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've been to France, I've been to Italy, and you can walk in there and they will speak English.
English, because they know it, yeah.
We're so.
And we're kind of ethnocentric.
We are.
We feel like because, well, we know English, so everybody else should know English. Really?
No. I
Really?
think one of the languages too.
Really? Should we believe that way? So, let's talk about cultural conflict. People become aware of differences and feel threatened. Response, when we feel like we're in cultural conflict, we will ridicule beliefs, traditions of others, to make yourself feel more secure, so you talk down about people. Ethnocentrism is a belief that one's ideas and practices are best or superior. What great example do we have of this in history? Hitler, the Nazis. He was very ethnocentric. Tried to kill off, exterminate a whole race of people because he felt like they were superior. So, characteristics of cultures, guys, it's learned. Culture is taught. It's social. We get together with groups and we socialize among people that are like us. It's adaptive. If the culture no longer works for you anymore, you're going to change it. It can be satisfying and reassuring that every Thanksgiving we know that you're going to get a what? Lots of food and probably a turkey, right? That on Christmas you're probably getting presents. On Halloween you get to go trick-or-treating. These are some of the cultural things that we do in this country that they don't do in other countries. But culture is difficult to articulate. It's hard to describe. We wear certain clothing based on our culture. You have to wear, now that you're in the subculture of nursing, what do you all have on today? Yeah, your uniforms. So, do we have our own language in the School of Nursing? Yeah, NPO, PO, ACNHS, Q4, PRN, right? We're trying to teach you this language this first semester. Culture exists on many levels: art, clothing, tools, birth, death, weddings, marriage, all of these different things. Again, prejudice. So you can have a bias, you can have a feeling about someone that's negative, a stereotype that's negative, but it becomes a prejudice when it's a strongly held opinion. And it becomes, I'm sorry, I said prejudice a minute ago, and then it becomes discrimination if you act on it. So if you treat someone differently because of their difference, then now it has become prejudice or discrimination. So some of the areas that we would deal with in culture is health and illness beliefs. We're going to talk about some of that today. Family patterns, communication style, both verbal and nonverbal. I used this example last class period when people from different countries, like in our country, we here, when we're talking to someone, we look them where? In the eye. What do we think of people who don't? Shifty.
Lying.
They might be lying. But, and Frederick, this is true for your country, right? In other countries, that's not the case. In other countries, it's disrespectful to look at an elder person and it doesn't mean somebody super old, because I ain't old, I'm just saying. But to look me in the eye because I hold a position of your instructor. So some people would not want to look me in the eye because they would consider that disrespectful. Also, looking away, talking more softly is not something that they do in their culture. But when you're practicing nursing here, we have to know who we're taking care of, right? Because if we are taking care of someone that is typically American, that has a custom that is what we think of as Americans, then we'd want to look them in the eye, right? Now, if you go to another country because of mission work, let's say after you get your degree, then you're going to need to figure out what their customs are. Because if you go over there thinking, oh, well, I'm an American, man, I'm giving and I'm going to go give, and you're talking to elderly women and you're looking them in the eye and you're invading their space or whatnot, that's not respecting their culture that you've come to take care of them. So in nursing, it's different. Nursing, we are to care for people as their culture dictates, as much as we can. So if you're dealing with the culture frequently, and you're seeing a lot of these people coming into your clinic, your doctor's office, your hospital, your ER, you're going to want to learn about that culture. Spatial orientation, very different. Some people here in our country, we have a 3-foot bubble around us. This is my space. I told one of our faculty members the other day, she's pregnant, and I told her, I said, okay, have you had people come up and touch your belly now? She goes, oh yeah. And she said, this is my space. Nobody is supposed to come in my space. And I laughed and I said, okay, well, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be violating your space as soon as your belly gets a little bit bigger. So I told her, I mean, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do.
Belly exceeds the space, it's not my fault.
But I know, I'm just teasing. And I was teasing her. I actually won't do it because now I know she's got her space. But do you know, America's like one of the only places that does that. Many other countries, a couple of the ladies this morning in the morning class was telling me, and they were from, I think, Nigeria? Yeah, they were saying that if they've got with someone and they see something on their face, they won't tell them. They'll actually, that's acceptable. That's what you do for your friend or someone you know. So we would kind of be like, what? Gross, what? What are you doing? Right? So that's different. It's different. Time orientation, we'll talk about this too, guys. In the US, we're very futuristic thinking. We always make schedules, and we always expect people to be on time. You have to be 10 minutes early. And we're about the only country that does that too. Other countries have a much more relaxed orientation to time, which I've always said, I'm really probably not from here. I visited Jamaica when I was, I don't know, it's been a few years back, and man, they have a much more relaxed sense of time, and I just loved it. So if somebody's supposed to be here at 2 o'clock, you might see them at 2:30, you might not see them. I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. Nutritional cause of pain. Guys, I do want to say something about pain. When you have people from different ethnicities and cultures, everybody expresses pain a little bit. Individuals express pain differently, but culturals, there are some cultural norms also. In some cultures, it's believed that you should be stoic and not express pain at all. In some cultures, they express pain very loudly. They believe they're supposed to scream, and that's part of their culture. So don't degrade someone because they don't behave the same way that you would behave when you're in pain. And then, of course, death and dying practices are something that we think about as well. So what's your job? You need to develop cultural self-awareness, and that's what the point of today is all about. We're going to talk about some different cultures, and try to increase your knowledge just a little bit, increase your awareness. But I want to challenge you as we're talking about these things to assess your own beliefs. Because everyone sitting in this room right now, you have some sort of bias. You just do. You might not want to admit it to the person sitting next to you. You might even find it hard to admit it to yourself, but you do. So I would encourage you to challenge that within yourself and not only maybe grow into being maybe a more accepting person today, but also how are you going to do that for your patients? And I want you to just remember that you're going to also take care of people that are not really great people. I have taken care of individuals in my life who have committed heinous murders. They have killed their mother or their father or their sister or their brother. And we have still got to care for them in a kind, compassionate, and caring way. How are you going to be able to do that? How are you going to be able to go into a hospital room when an individual has been injured in the course of a police chase because they kidnapped a 2-year-old little girl and sexually abused this child so much that he killed the child? He got shot and now he's in your ER. Okay? How are you going to take care of them in a kind and compassionate manner? Are we there to be judge and jury? No, we're not. You're not there to be judge and jury. You need to leave your biases and your prejudice and your stereotypes at the door when you walk into your hospital every day. And you need to care for everyone as you would want to be cared for as an individual. All right, so let's, could I have those that said they would be on my panel come up now? Or y'all gonna chicken out? Come on. All right. It's hard to come up when it's kind of scary up here, right? Come on up. As you guys come up, I will have my son go ahead and introduce himself. What I'd like for the panel to do is when you introduce yourself, I just kind of want you to tell me, just take about a 60-second period of time, kind of just explain to us kind of where you're coming from, a little bit about your culture or subculture that you're representing today. I also want you to share with me an example of when you've had someone behave in a prejudiced, discriminatory manner towards you. Because I think sometimes that when we actually meet real-life human beings and we see how they have had to encounter uncomfortable things in their lives, that hopefully maybe it'll make us a little more kind when we're out and about in the world, all right? And then at the end, we're going to kind of round back up and kind of talk about how can we better provide health care for individuals who are different. And if you even want to, when you share your 2-minute story or whatnot, if you would like to also share when you are going to the hospital, what would make it a little bit better, or what would help if they included something that's maybe specific to your culture? How would having them treat you in a different way look, maybe? Okay? So Robert?
Well, hi guys, I'm Robert.
Hi.
Hi, Robert.
I'm here today representing the LGBTQIA community. Even though my experience does make up a very small part of my community as a whole, I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys might have. Certainly, I've been out for 20 years, so the culture in America has changed a lot since I've been out of the closet.
And you're gay?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm gay.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole list of letters.
I know.
I mean, it's a whole list of letters.
I'm the G in LGBTQI.
Yeah.
And
Can you tell them what those letters stand for?
yes, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans or transgendered, queer or questioning, intersex, and asexual or allied.
Okay.
What's ally?
Somebody who identifies as heterosexual but is an ally to the community, who
Oh, that would be
fight.
me.
Yeah, Alan.
Aw.
So you are part of the LGBTQIA community.
Yay.
Yeah. So,
I always knew that.
but you know, obviously things have changed for me a lot. I've certainly faced discrimination in my life, but it has been quite a long time. The thing that I think is a big focus right now in our culture is fighting for the rights of trans people and how especially they're treated like within the healthcare industry. So even though that's not my experience, I can try to talk about it a little bit if you guys do have questions about it.
Well, would you share with them the story that you had heard doing your research?
Yeah, I did a little bit of research before coming here today just because, you know, I don't want to speak about the trans experience too much because it's not my experience, but I was fascinated to learn that over 70% of trans people have experienced discrimination in the healthcare industry while seeking, you know, treatment or going to the hospital. And 40% of trans people have actually not went to the hospital or not went to the doctor when they should have for fear of discrimination. So this is actually something that has kept people from seeking medical care when they really needed it.
And Robert, could you define trans? Because there may be some people who don't know.
Yeah, trans is just something when you don't identify as the gender you were assigned with at birth. So, yeah. It's a large umbrella, but that's a simplification of it. But
And
yeah.
the example that you gave me that you had read about specifically was when they're in the hospital. Can you share that? When doctors and nurses come in?
Oh, sure. A lot of trans people have said that while they are in the hospital for something that is not really even related to them being trans, oftentimes, you know, groups of students or doctors or nurses will come into the room and kind of, you know, say, oh, we want to use you as a case study, you know, or almost like, you know, they're a lab
Have
rat.
you had the gender?
Yeah, and they're learning, you know, the hospitals want to use this as a learning moment for their doctors and nurses, but it can oftentimes make someone who is trans feel like very ostracized. Also, you know, I think because you are in the medical profession, a lot of times you might feel a little bit more comfortable asking a trans person like where they're at in their journey as far as their genitalia and things like that are concerned. And that happens, I think, probably very, very frequently to trans people when they go to seek care. But I would encourage all of you not to ask that question unless it directly pertains to the care that you are providing them. If they're just in there for a broken ankle, you don't need to know what's in their underwear.
Well, and Robert came out when he was 16,
Mhm.
and he's been in a monogamous, married for 13 years.
Yep.
But every time he goes to the doctor for a cold, what do they ask?
Oh, when was the last time I was tested for AIDS? You know, have I had an AIDS test? Always, you know, even if it's just like flu-like symptoms, which can sometimes be like the first symptoms, you know, of HIV, but yeah, every time I go, that's a constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the AIDS is more seen now in what population? Straight population. A lot more
It's
AIDS
junkies.
is in straight and drug populations now. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I'm not in the outlaw being allied, but,
Yeah.
but I also, as an African American woman, when you go to the doctor, whether you're in a relationship or not, or married or whatever,
Mhm.
the first question they ask you is,
Okay.
when was your last? So I feel like I have too been
I believe that.
discriminated
Yes.
against.
Yes.
I do believe that because
When I
there
went to
have
the
been,
doctor.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
within the last couple decades, African American women was the largest growing population of AIDS.
We were at one
right?
time.
Yeah.
At one time.
I don't know if it's like that now, but I do remember hearing that, so I'm not surprised by that. I'm sorry that happens.
I mean, doctors saying it doesn't feel good the first
Right.
time.
Yeah.
You can't have a broken ankle. It has to be, you know.
Right.
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
And as a middle-aged woman who's been married, I never get asked.
I've never
I've
been asked.
never been asked.
Nope, never.
Okay, so
Every time I
now,
was pregnant, I got asked. I had to take one
Now-
every time I was pregnant.
yeah, now, I could be having massive affairs on the side. You know, but I've never been asked, right? So there's some profiling, right? a little bit of profiling that's being done. So it's kind of interesting. And Robert, share one of the how you've experienced a prejudice or a discrimination in your life.
Oh, sure. I mean, just outside of the healthcare industry, and I'm very, very happy to report that this hasn't happened in a long time. But you know, early 2000s, I would get called faggot on a daily basis leaving my house. At the gas station pumping gas, that was always fun.
Yeah. Grocery store.
Oh yeah,
it didn't
grocery
matter.
store for sure. Yep. Yeah, just pretty much everywhere.
Just people felt like they had the right.
Yeah, but you know, it slowly trailed off, and things I think are getting a lot better for lesbian and gay people. But we still have a long way to go for my community as a whole.
Yeah. And have you guys ever noticed that lesbians tend to be a little more accepted than gay men?
Yes, yes. To an
Okay.
extent.
Well, I mean, you might have to think, why is that? You know, think about that. Well, first of all, straight men like to watch women. I mean, they do. Straight men like to watch women having sex together, right? But do straight men like to watch men having sex together?
They may, but they may not want to say so.
Then they're gay.
It's
Yeah, I
something-
remember once, Robert belonged to a support group for younger people coming out. And that's when we didn't really have cell phones or anything back then, right? So this mother, he had been helping someone that was trying to come to terms with coming out. He was 13 or 14, and this was a support group that they could go to for teenagers who were learning to, coming out, and it's a great organization. I was on the board for a while.
IYG, it's still in
It's still in
It's great.
existence,
Yeah.
IYG, Indiana Youth Group. And so she had done redial, heard her son, found out her son was talking to Robert. She called, I happened to answer the phone, and she was absolutely convinced that this group and Robert were making her son gay. Okay, so that because of exposure to people who are gay, that was what was turning him gay, right? And I was trying to explain to her that that's not how it happened. It's how you're born. Okay, you're born. This is who you are when you're born. And to prove that point, I made a comment to her. I said, for example, let's think about you. You're married to a man, correct? And she said, yes. And I said, well, that would be like you getting up tomorrow morning and saying, I'm going to go have sex with women now. I like women better than men. I said, could you do that? And she said, well, yeah, I could. I said, well, then, honey, you're gay. I'm like, because most people would say no, okay, if they're straight. I said, so, he probably genetically came from you. We know there's a genetic component. Robert has two sets of twins.
Oh yeah, my two best friends are twin brothers, and they're both gay. Yeah.
And the twin female and male, both gay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So he knows two sets of twins, both are gay. So, all right, Frederick, tell us where you're from. Frederick, by the way, was I told you guys that already though, didn't I? He was in my clinical last semester. I'm gonna turn the light on over here too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see my face.
That's right. There we go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Frederick.
Yeah, my name is Frederick. Don't worry about the second name. Last name.
He said that one's hard to say.
Yeah.
Say it. Loud enough.
No, I'm not.
You're proud of your name.
I'm proud of it. I just don't want to go through it again. I mean, my name is not that complex. Odongo. That's Odongo.
Oh, Dongo.
Yeah, Odongo. Yeah, it means the last of a set of twins. I'm not a twin. That's my dad's name. All right. Representing Kenya, Eastern Africa community. Yeah, I'm from Kenya. I represent East African community and a little bit of America. because I happen to be married to an American. That's why I talk like I do.
And you've been here 4 years.
I've been here 4 years, I've been married 6.
6
I have-
years,
Yeah,
oh.
I have 2 little boys. They're a handful, but I love them. Yeah, I'm in nursing school. I'm in
Well,
my
and can you
second
share
year.
your wife's ethnicity?
Yeah, my wife is white American.
So
Yeah, and-
we have a biracial marriage too, and you've experienced some issues because of that, right?
Yeah, I've experienced quite a bit of that from everywhere. Except for my being married to my wife. Every time I go home, people look at me a certain way. People relate to me a certain way. The friends, my cousins, my friends, the people we went to school together, my best friends, don't want to hang out with me because they're scared that I'm better than them for whatever reason. Maybe because I'm married to an American. And they would not want to come out and hang out. Anytime they would come to see me, they would be coming to say hello, and because they have need, I have the money. My family the same. Every time someone has a need, it's me. And some of them are very genuine needs, and you want help, but you're not going to be able to help everybody. So it's that notion that being an American, being married to a white lady, you always have the money.
You're rich.
You're
They believe you're rich.
Yeah, and back here, living among predominantly white people, my neighborhood is all white. I've been here over 4 years, actually. By end of this year, I'm going to be here 5 years. But when I got here, in my neighborhood, there was no black person. I call black person because I refer to myself as black. I don't call people black, but I don't care if you call me black. It's fine because that is who I am. I can't change it for anything. So it took 3 years for me to see anybody who looks like me in that neighborhood. I would only see them in Walmart or Target or somewhere else, but not in that neighborhood. And something else is like people thought that when I came here from Africa, then I would, right away click with the African American. Sadly, it never happened. I mean, I'm okay with them, but I've been friends with most of them. We don't just click. We are not the same. I don't know why.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah, so cultures are different. I look at life in so many different ways. I look at life first as an African, as a black person. I look at life as someone who is married to a white person who is living among white people, who have good relationships with people from all walks of life. I've lived with so many people from different cultures. I was volunteering for 6 good years as a missionary back home. And it's an international mission organization, so we have people from Asia, from the UK, people from America, people from the Caribbean, everywhere. So I got to have a taste of who they are by talking to them, just interacting with them, living under the same roof in the same compound, doing stuff with them, going to town, going shopping, going swimming, fun stuff, and also sharing their sad moments, like when they lose a loved one. And so that prepared me for this life, so that when I came here, it was still culture shock.
And that
A
was
lot
one of
of-
your definitions too.
Yeah, a lot of things were different. Because I came here, in that little community that I lived with, different cultures, we were accustomed to, being close to one another. It was another culture that is just unique on its own. So it did not give me a taste of my bubble, like Americans, like, okay, this is my space. Don't step me. So coming here, I was of the notion that, community. We're very communal. In Eastern Africa, I don't know about, I think Nigeria and, other parts of Africa are also communal. But in my village, I'm a village boy. I was born and raised in a little village. Like, actually, the house that I was born in was a mud hut. It had grass too. And I'm proud of that because, you know. And so coming from that kind of environment and then into this, you know, it takes a lot. And people look at me that way. I was talking from like when I go home, certain way, people look at me and relate with me, and then when I come here, people expect me to behave like that. One typical example that would be, I don't know whether stereotyping or what, my dad-in-law, which is a very good friend of mine, was helping me get a car. First time here, I had a job, and my wife had helped me a lot to get to work and back. And so I was thinking that, no, I don't want to wear her off. So I was, okay, I need to get a car, a simple car. So my dad-in-law helped me get a car, and I looked at the car. It was cheap, but nice enough, but I didn't want it because I wanted something better. And he didn't say a word, but
To you.
to me. But he told my wife that, well, that's so picky coming from Africa. And there are people who have made comments. I am particular about, you know, what I want. Even if I go to buy something, I don't just buy it because, you know, because I go somewhere and I want to buy something. Well, I look for deals, but it has to be a good deal for something that is worth, you know, having. And so some point that I'm trying to buy something and someone is suggesting something, and, oh, this one looks cheap enough, you know, you don't have to spend so much. I'm like, well, I don't care if it is cheap or expensive. I want something good. If I'm going to buy clothes, I'd rather buy one, but I'll buy something with value, something that is going to, you know, look good on me, something that's going to last. I'm not going to buy 100 and they're worth nothing. So somebody would look at me and say, like, he's too picky to be coming from Africa. I hear that a lot.
Wow.
He's so fancy. He's just, you know, from Africa. He
So they
likes
could- yeah.
very good things, but he didn't have that in Africa. Like I told the last group, that people who have never been to Africa are looking at Africa and, you know, thinking about Lion King, thinking about the gods must be crazy, and those kind of movies that are, you know, people living in huts or on trees and running around with their loincloths, chasing animals in the jungle, or Tarzan, those kind of. That is not what Africa is. Africa is a lot more than that.
Yes.
And you find fancy housing, cities, fancy cars. You find people who are stinking rich in Africa than you can even imagine. Stinking rich. We are rich in Africa, it's just not well distributed. We just don't know how to manage it. But we have it. So I don't want to, you know, take all the time, but I'm just telling you a little bit about my experience here, and I know we're going to share more, but yeah. After this now, yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
All right,
I
thank
think
you.
we have a question.
Yes.
I think it was really interesting when he mentioned how, you know, most people would assume that he would kind of click with an African American also, and like when he said that, I was like, well, from what I've experienced, I always experienced that Africans don't really like African Americans, and then Simran over here is like,
We feel the other way.
yes,
They don't like us.
she feels that African Americans don't like Africans. So
Okay.
I think that that's like really interesting for us to just like
Make
kinda
that
have
connection,
where
right?
if
Yeah.
maybe either one of us are African Americans or Africans were more, you know, willing to talk to or just interact with the other person,
Right.
then we would see that we probably have so many things in common.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just don't want guys to kind of get me wrong. But what I was trying to say is that there's a lot of assumptions, you know. People think that because we look the same, we belong together.
Yeah.
And I love African Americans. And when I got here, I was like, oh, I was gonna, make new friends. And they're the first, I got the job and they're the first people that I was. My wife loves black people. Anytime she goes to a store and sees a black person, it's like, oh, let's go talk to him.
Well, she loves you. She loves you, right?
Yeah, and so I try to be the voice of reason. You're black inside.
You're black inside.
You're black inside, white outside. I'm white inside, black outside. That's how we relate with each other, okay? So, what causes that kind of, we are not able to play? I may be wrong, but it's because we expect, that you come in with expectation that, oh, we are trying to play. And then you get together and you realize that, it's not working. They are a different culture. We're looking at each other like, with the assumption that they should behave like this, they should handle me like this, you talk to me like this. And they are thinking the same. So when we come together, it's that disappointment. Because expectation always brings disappointment. So when you're disappointed, it's like you clash. I've seen that a lot. And that is why I step back, because I don't want to be offensive. Okay, we'll be cool, but you're my friend, you're not my best buddy.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
But thank you for raising that.
Now, I was going to ask, where are you from?
Nigeria.
And you're from, Frederick, you're from
Kenya, so west and east.
So now, can you kind of add to how maybe it's different for you where you're from?
Yeah, just like Frederick rightly said, most of the culture in Africa, they are basically the same thing. If there will be changes, just one or two changes, one or two areas. Like where I come from, Nigeria, southwest Nigeria, because Nigeria as a country, you have so many diversity in that country. The fact that she's from Nigeria or he's from Nigeria doesn't mean we understand each other.
Okay.
In my country, my closest neighbor, even right here in Navitech, people from Nigeria, we don't even understand each other. When we communicate in English. Because my local dialect, he doesn't understand me, and when he speaks to or when she speaks to, I don't understand her either. But we are from the same country.
But now, in your country, though, you've always had your education in English.
In English,
correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So, which I think sometimes we don't know that.
Yeah. In Nigeria, the official language is English, but aside that, we still have our own respective local languages. So many languages in Nigeria. We're a country of about 180 million people. And we have so many languages, I can't even mention them, there are just too many, So it takes a lot of, patience at times to even understand each other, speak a general language, which is English. Like where I come from, we speak a language we call Yoruba. There are some areas too, they speak Hausa, maybe you heard them, and some areas too, Igbo. From there, you have so many, breakdowns too. So it's a lot of diversity in language and in religion as well. Take for instance now, at home, I'm a Catholic at home, but some of my friends too, we have some people that are probably other Christian affiliations, like a Jehovah's Witness. Let me just relate that to the health settings.
Okay.
Now, I have a friend who his parent was bedridden for some time, and what the major cause of that thing was because he basically needs a blood transfusion. As a Jehovah's Witness in Nigeria, he or she would prefer to die than to do a blood transfusion.
And that is true here
that's,
too.
That's one thing about them. And at the same time too, there are some tribes, they call them ethic people. Those people there, if I'm a man, being hospitalized somewhere, he would rather not allow any female nurse or any female to attend to him.
Okay, and I was going to ask you about that too, because it's also my understanding that, and I don't know, I know in certain religions, and I think Muslim might be one. I did forget to ask though, because I kind of wanted some religious diversity up here too, so I was also going to ask if anyone is Muslim or even atheist or agnostic, so if we get to talk about religious differences, I may ask some of you to chime in. But because in some cultures, women are not to be cared for by men, male nurses, right? And then in some cultures, men are not to be cared for by women in some cultures. So in a hostile environment, we need to take that into consideration, right? And make sure that we are trying as best we can to meet the cultural needs or needs of those people, right? Now, I have an interesting question though.
Okay.
Now, are you married?
Yeah, married with 3 kids.
3 kids,
I've been
okay.
married for like 9 years now.
You've been here?
I've been here for like 2.5 years now.
2.5, okay. So let me ask, did you go in the delivery room? Were you in the room when your wife delivered her children?
Yes,
You did,
I,
okay.
Yes, I was there.
Okay, because wasn't it one of the gentlemen from the morning group, Frederick, said that in the part he was from, that men did not,
Yeah, that men don't go into the
labor room,
Yeah.
out of respect, is what he said.
Yeah, that was from Kenya.
Kenya,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's quite true in Nigeria too. Because when I first had my two guys, I was there at the hospital too, but they never allowed me to enter the labor room. So right now, when I had my my third baby just like a month ago.
Oh, here.
So when we went to Eskenazi, when we went to Eskenazi, just somewhere in downtown here.
Yes, yes.
So before that time, my wife told me, "Oh, I'm going to call the card or something." I said, "What do I need to do?" He said, "Somebody asked, maybe a physician asked her or something that it's allowed for somebody to enter the."
Oh, and cut the umbilical cord?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, I said, I'm interested. I would like to know." So, and to be honest with you, I'm quite happy to experience, as a father, I'm quite very happy to experience such thing. I went there, a very friendly,
Yeah.
the labor room, everybody was, communication was flowing, everything.
Yes.
You had everything, everything was normal and perfect. So for me, it's a very great experience for me as a father, to at least experience the birth of my baby.
Oh, yeah, cutting the
it's-
cord. So
Yeah,
now,
cutting the cord
were
too,
you in the delivery room with your first two?
No, I was not
No,
allowed.
because
I
you
was not
were in, okay.
allowed. Not allowed.
All right, so you got to be in for one,
In for one.
and you
now.
enjoyed it.
I enjoyed
Yes,
it
and
very well.
Frederick, you were in for yours.
It's
Yes.
the best moment of my life.
Yeah, yeah. So, so how would you feel, can I ask if you're willing to share your religious belief?
I'm a Christian.
Christian, okay. So how would you feel if your wife had a male nurse?
Oh.
I mean, be honest. Be honest.
To be honest, at times, women, we are like,
That's just
the
me.
ego or something, So before this time, when she was pregnant, most of the time, she would go to hospitals, all these tests every time, test. There's one funny afternoon when he went for scan or something, scan, check everything, and the way she was ultrasound, and the way she was saying it, I was like very curious. I don't send any answer. Is he a man or a woman? I was like,
You asked if he was
I was
male or
asking,
woman.
is he a man or a woman that did all those things for her? He said, why am I asking her? She said, I just want to know, So that is part of the curiosity you want to know. But for me, in this kind of setting, be it a man, be it a woman, everything
would
is
be
fine.
fine.
And like I remember, even when she was having the delivery like a month ago, a male physician who
Right.
was there,
Okay,
gave her some injections and everything. So everything was
Okay,
fine.
you were okay.
I'm fine with that, no problem.
okay, all right. Would you be willing to share with us your culture?
Yeah, I'm from India, so I think I am combination of all of them. As he said, like we are not allowed to go to the delivery room. Same in our country, the men are not allowed to go in the delivery room.
Okay.
So here, we are like we have parents that are old elder people. They don't accept the thing that they are here, but like we are young people, we accept here.
Okay.
So like when I deliver my baby here, so like when she born, like my mother-in-law, she want to give her honey, but here is not allowed to give the honey.
Yes.
Like, but she was so willing to give her honey,
Uh-huh.
but like I tell her that it's not good, like that. But like she was like so upset that they don't let me give her honey.
Right,
So
because
they-
for the first 12 months, right?
Yeah.
Here in this country.
Uh,
So was your husband with you when
yeah,
you delivered the baby?
yeah.
How did your mother or mother-in-law feel about that?
Same like as I told you, like she want to go with me. Like she said, like men's are not allowed here, so I will go with you. So but like my husband said, no, let me go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you didn't have your mother or mother-in-law in the room with you then?
No.
So you had your husband.
Yeah.
So tell me, and you and I kind of talked about this before the panel discussion, could you share with the group who may not know a lot about your culture how marriage is handled? Do you marry when you fall in love with someone,
No.
or can you tell them about that?
We are, most of the people have arranged marriages. Like in our culture, is 90% is arranged marriages.
Can you guys hear? 90% are arranged marriages. Yeah.
When I first met my husband is on the day of our engagement. When we
Wow, on the first time was on
Yeah.
your wedding day.
everything was fixed, and we are going to engage on the day.
Okay,
Then when we see each other,
okay.
and then the second time I think on marriage.
Oh, so you got to meet him one time, and the second time you were married.
Yeah.
So what would have happened if you didn't like him when you met him the one time?
Nobody says like that.
No, so you wouldn't be
Yeah.
allowed to. You wouldn't be allowed to say, I don't want to marry this person.
Like as time changed, so now some like girls and boys say like we don't like each other, but like in like if you say 10 years ago, nobody said like that. Nobody have right to say it. But now as people is educating and they say like we want to marry to that person.
Okay. And then can you
I have a
explain
question about
then?
that.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. Because your parents of both sides arrange the wedding,
Yeah.
arrange marriage. Do they do it when you're a child, or do they do it when you're older?
No. When
So do
we
they
are-
wait to, do they do it based on like what they feel personality, a good fit, or do they do it more on like in
Class.
the political
Status.
Is it more like, do they match you up if they feel you guys would be a good match, or do they do it for like?
There is many things like first like in India there is like too many languages and too many cultures. There are like 29 states. Each state has his own language and own culture. Like there are Hindu, Christian, Japanese. Everyone is over there, and we are Sikh. So we don't like in Muslim they marry to the cousins.
Yeah.
Like in Sikhs we don't marry to the cousin, but it should be Sikh. Like if I am Sikh, then my like husband should be Sikh. But
Sikh, is that, am I saying it
Sikh,
correctly?
S-I-K-H.
How do you spell that?
Yep.
SIKH.
Okay. But so, yes, because, so what was the culture that I was saying, is it Muslim?
Yeah.
That you said will marry cousins?
Yeah.
Right?
They marry cousin.
Because I have a neighbor that lives across the street from us, and the mom and dad, they're cousins. And they were an arranged marriage, because they said that in order to find someone of like status
Yeah.
and religion and all of the things that they wanted them to be like, that they had to do that. So in India then, isn't there also a big, I don't know, presence, or they want everyone to, whoever you're gonna marry, to be of the same status?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a minute?
Like it should be like in Sikh, if I am Sikh, it should be Sikh. And the second thing, it should be of same status. Like if we are rich, then the other one should be rich too. Like, but it should not be like, in any way should not be brother or sister, like cousin, or like from mother's relationship, from father's relationship, it's like go too long. It should not be brother or sister in any way.
Okay.
Like,
And then, can you tell me, let's say if someone from India decided not to do what their parents said and wanted to marry a white boy or a dark-skinned person, how would they be treated in your culture?
like parents mostly don't allow it to do, but like the their rules are there for to support them. So like they mostly go to the police and they support them.
And
But
you
like,
can be arrested, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But like the parents, they say like if you want to marry to other culture, then we don't want to talk to you.
We're gonna disown you.
Yeah.
And not, we had another Indian, someone from India here this morning, and she talked about that in India, it still very much happens that if you date or want to marry outside of your ethnicity, that parents or uncle or brother will kill you.
Yeah, they do. They do
Yeah.
in India.
In India, and the
Like mostly the girls' parents.
the
they
girls'
kill them.
parents, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they kill the girls more, they don't usually kill the boys,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's the females, and yes, it's illegal, but what she was
Yeah.
explaining is that the government just really kind of looks the other way.
Yeah.
They don't.
Like, as we are here, the money and everything are equally distributed. Like in India, some people are too much rich, and some are too poor.
Right.
So like if you are rich people, you can do anything. You can kill anybody, nobody gonna arrest you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's all depend upon money. Like you
Wow.
can, if
Okay.
you have money,
You can just, if
Do
your
it.
daughter disgraces you,
yeah.
you could just have her taken care of. Yeah.
Gonna
Yeah.
usually don't do anything.
Yeah.
Is it more like controlled by like religious law then? Because
Yeah.
it sounds like it's more like,
Yeah.
not criminal law, but like religious law. Like Islam is
Yeah.
very much religious law in
Yeah.
those countries.
Do you have like elders that
Yeah.
set the guidelines for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like as you said, like we cannot look to the elders, and the same, like on our elders, we don't usually, when we talk, don't say in the eyes. And also like as we say like Mrs. Farmer, we don't pronounce the name of elder people. And as I have my husband, I don't like call him by name. I always say like, hey, hello.
Ah, okay, so you don't call him by name?
No, it's like disrespectful.
Okay.
Like, but like has time changed, so people do, but mostly they say like it's disrespectful.
So is it looked differently for men to marry women that are different than them, but not for women to marry? Like, could a man would it be more accepted if a man from India married a white woman?
Yeah, it is like, not in all cases, but in some cases if you say like 2-3%, then men's are acceptable.
Yeah.
But women not.
Okay.
Like women are not acceptable at all, and men's are at some point.
Okay. And then one other question about your religion. Can you kind of tell us just like something that maybe in regards to your religion that we would want to remember if we were caring for someone in the hospital that are Sikh?
Yeah, like I eat chicken. I don't follow all the religious practices.
Okay.
But like who is like proper Sikh, they like don't remove the hairs. Like if you have to remove the hair for any surgical, for any reason, for any medical reason, you have to ask the
Permission.
to ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't.
To cut the hair?
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't they mostly don't remove the hairs.
Okay.
It's all like it's not good. Like it's really just.
So dietary things that we would need to remember because many are vegetarian.
Yeah, almost all are vegetarian.
Do you have, now because of
Like
somebody in
there,
our first
as I told you, there is like too many religions in India. So like some eat only eggs, some eat only chicken, some are totally vegetarian, some
Okay.
are like. But I think in India nobody eat the
Cow?
beef. Nobody eat the beef.
Nobody eats beef.
Like in Hindu, we are Sikh, we don't do, but like mostly in India are Hindu, like 80% population is Hindu.
Hindu.
So they like do puja for like
Okay.
cow, like they think like cow is for like Lord.
Okay. Okay. So again, I think when you're dealing with different cultures, just remember that you've got to always take into account their food restrictions. I do know that when the lady that I was telling you about earlier about the hot and cold, with the hot and cold theory, there's also very specific things that they can eat and cannot eat, and it does not have to do with the temperature of the food. Not the temperature, it had to do with other properties with the food, of which I had no understanding, I will be honest. So the family actually brought in food for the patient, all right? And I want to try to get to all of you guys, so can you tell us your name and?
My name is Mariela. Can you guys hear me? If good, I'm shouty. And I was born in Mexico.
Okay.
I came here when I was 2. I'm 21, so it's 19 years. And we recently just got our legal residency card, which is the green card.
Cool.
So I was able to go visit Mexico for the first time. I mean, I was born there, but I don't remember much about Mexico.
Right.
So I got to experience like the food. I saw like a little bit of the reason why there's a lot of, like immigrants coming here. It was very sad seeing that. And
can you tell us a little bit about that, what you saw?
Yeah, so the first time that I visited Mexico, we arrived at an airport 3 hours away from where we live. And we only did that because it was the planes were cheaper. But there was an airport an hour away. But in Mexico City, that's where we arrived. It was sad because there was people who were homeless, and they would ask, at the stoplights, they would ask the cars to like wipe the windshield. And not everybody has money, so a lot of them would say no. And it was just very sad because I guess the way they were dressed as well, it seemed like they weren't being taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I arrived where I was born, it was sad too. I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah. Just not what you're used to here, living here in this country then.
I guess what I can talk about is something that I don't like about my culture is something that we call machismo, which is basically like the men, since they work and the women stay home, or the girls, when the guy comes home, like the woman has to serve them. So they can just come and they'll sit at the table, and you bring them the food, you bring them the drink, you bring them basically everything, right? And I don't like that. Sometimes that happens at home too. And
well, I was going to ask what you see in your own home.
Yeah, we've changed some things. Like, I feel like we've lost a little bit of tradition because, for example, the Day of the Dead as well, we don't do that at home, which I really wish that we did because it's something nice that I think about, my culture. But
I just learned about that actually this past fall. We were in San Antonio when they were getting ready to celebrate the Day of the Dead, and I actually, I tell you, I fall into these little holes in the internet, and I keep reading and reading. It is a beautiful custom.
Yeah, I've never really experienced it in Mexico, but I would love to have that experience. But regarding that machismo, do you have a question?
I do have. Yeah, so I'm white, obviously, but I date a Hispanic guy for the past 5 years, and with his mom, it was that way. But since we recently moved back to Indiana, my boyfriend and I, she has went and got a job. Ooh. She doesn't like do it. It's because of the way that I lived.
Right.
So I told my boyfriend, like, ooh.
I'm not okay with that.
So, like, it is true, though. When I got home, wow, this is a lot different from the way that I grew up.
Right.
Like, my mom wasn't that way.
Right.
To an extent, obviously, but.
Right.
Like, I was just so,
that's really different. Right. That's really different than what you were used to.
So that is
Yes, you have a question?
I just want to know what city you were born in.
Puebla. City, that's the state, I was born in the city of Puebla. But yeah, I don't like that. So at home, like whenever my brother works and he comes home, and my mom was like, hey, go downstairs and serve him. I'm like, but I work too, and I went to school too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm tired too.
Right.
And I guess it's kind of like maybe talking back in that culture, but we have, like the time has changed, times have changed, so at home, I can see that my parents have changed that a bit in our home. So we see now that my siblings, the guys will wash dishes, which in Mexico, that's not really seen. And it's surprising because you guys are like shocked faces. It's not really seen. And yeah, I don't like that. So that's something that we've changed, and I'm so happy about that.
Now, you're free to marry whom you want.
Yes.
For love?
Yes. My family, my cousin, he's married to a mixed girl.
Okay.
She's half white, half black.
Okay.
And then I have another cousin. She got married to a guy from Afghanistan, I think.
Okay.
And he's I think Muslim.
Okay.
I'm not sure Muslim. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Muslim. So yeah, I don't.
Your culture's
Yeah.
pretty accepting
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah. That I've seen. Yeah.
Okay.
My grandma, maybe she wasn't as happy, right? But now she's more, because times have changed. So
Right.
It's not like that anymore. But in Mexico, that's another thing. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have any more questions?
I just want to add
Yes.
to that. I am from Africa, East Africa. We have the same culture when it comes to the husband, states, and we have several, and we don't practice that in my house. And my mother-in-law, which is in her 80s, she don't like it. I can tell.
Oh.
That he is helping. Even
Oh,
if-
okay, she doesn't
Yeah,
like
she
it that
doesn't
you
like-
don't serve
yeah.
him. Oh, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Like, I know, and she doesn't like the fact that he's in the labor room with me.
Ah.
Because she was like, oh. She was praying for him.
He's praying for
She
him.
wanted to do that.
Yes, yes,
But yeah, it's a big, but it's changing. It's
Yes.
changing.
yeah.
Is your husband from where you're from?
Oh, that, he's
Your
from my
husband's
country,
Indian?
but he grew, pretty much he grew up here. So.
Ah, yes.
But if you were to deliver back home, would it be different?
Yeah, the same thing. He had.
They wouldn't allow
him
him back.
Countries especially long time ago, you don't even see the wife for about 12 days.
Oh, 12 days after having the baby. Oh, wow. Wow. You had a question?
Now, I was gonna make a statement. My boyfriend is Jamaican, and he is a lot like the men from both of their cultures. And it's definitely been perpetuated, like, throughout his past relationships. So when we got together, he's like, are you gonna make my plate? And I'm like, oh. We're gonna work through this together. I think it's definitely interesting, and I like hearing that other people have cultures like that as well.
Yes.
He and I were such a battle sometimes because I'm like, I'm not doing this. And he's like, but this is what a woman does. So he's so still stuck in that. And it's really interesting, especially to see the dynamic of his parents. And his mom definitely, she does that. So it's
right.
really interesting to watch and to also be in that kind of relationship where it's like, all right, we're going to grow through this together.
Yes.
Because he's definitely taken from my culture and he doesn't do certain things now.
Ah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Well, and Frederick and I kind of talked, American women can kind of be hard to deal with, can't we, Frederick? Look at it.
Yeah.
We definitely don't. We have this statement where it's, I'm imposing my difference. And we listen to the others, but it's definitely like a give and take of cultures and understanding.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Frederick?
What I know from my experience is that cross-cultural or interracial marriages, when you're getting into that, you have to be ready to give up a lot of things that you love. You have to give almost more than half of what's normal.
Yeah.
It's about finding an equilibrium. You know, you have to, both of you come to a place of saying that, okay, I give up this, and the other one says, I've given up this, and we can meet up in the middle.
Yeah.
Because there's a tendency that people think that they can change someone. And when we first got together, started dating, there was a lot of things I wanted to change in my wife. And she's the kind of, typical American woman who tell you, you don't tell me what to do. And so I love that lady. I still love her to death, every piece of her. And it's something that has taken a long time to build. We dated for like 6 years before we got married. And it's like, I was in Africa. She was all 7,000, like halfway around the world. All those miles, so in time difference. So we would be, most of the time we would be on phone or just Facebook and stuff. And it was difficult because there's some things that she's telling me that, okay, I'm gonna do this today. And I'm like, I don't agree with that, but she will do it anyway. And it will drive me crazy. And then I would do some things that she's not agreeing with because I'm far away there, not because I'm not respecting her, but because it's what's normal to me.
Right.
And she'll go crazy. So it has taken a lot. It's really taken a lot. But I think we still go through a lot of things. It's still a process that we're every day giving up. Okay, I surrender that part. Okay, I'm going to surrender that part. I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I do dishes mostly in my house.
Yeah.
I cook a lot more than she does.
Yeah.
And
which would not be common in your culture.
Which will not be common.
Yeah.
I used to do it at home, but when you have a wife, now the wife takes over and does more. I will help, but she does more.
Right.
Yeah, but that is not the same here.
Yeah.
Yes. You have a question?
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, how did you meet your wife?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I volunteered as a missionary in my country for 6 years. My wife was in the mission. She was in school of ministry. And so her school normally, they work with my organization, so they used to send students for mission work every year. Every year they would send a bunch of students. So she happened to be in one of those teams. Interestingly, my organization assigned me to be the point person, so I was organizing everything for them. And I would say contact person, so I made sure that all those locations that they were going, everything was in order. I prepared that for them, and then I would take them there and leave the team throughout the 2 weeks they were there. And so, this guy, focused in there, didn't see the girl. And till the last day, we did not.
And then you saw the girl.
And then,
do you have a comment?
We met the last day. We noticed each other at
the last day. Yeah. Wow. What were you going to say?
I want all of us to be aware of FGM, female circumcision.
Yes. Can we talk about that? Yeah.
The older, you will see it. It doesn't happen in my country anymore.
Did you guys hear that? Female circumcision.
But in older parents, you're all gonna see it, and it's not comfortable to us. Like, you have a surgery, something happened, that's what comes. But put it in the back of your mind because you're gonna see it.
You're going to see it, yeah. So when you go to Foley cast someone, you're going to see that maybe the clitoris is completely gone. So it could be just the skin covering the clitoris, or it can be the entire clitoris has been removed. So that is something you may see from other cultures. I just wanted to, I'm sorry we didn't get, can you tell us where you're from?
Okay, my name is Stanley. I'm from Vietnam, so we use Vietnamese.
And how long have you been here?
Yeah, just 3 years. Yeah, just 3 years.
So are you married?
Yeah, I have one now, about 2 years on and one on the way. So back to the delivery room, he said it's the best moment, right? But yeah, I think it's the best moment, but I think that moment scared me just about, I don't know, just because my wife, she, when she puts 3 times and she cannot push out the baby, and I didn't know the fluid from her mouth just go out and the efficiency.
Yeah.
She called two or three other patient, and I know what happened. But she said it's okay, and but it's lucky when my wife she say she heard about the C-section.
Yes.
Because she's delivering naturally, but she heard C-section and she's scared about that. And the last push, and she put my baby out.
Yeah.
But
now, in your
scary.
country, would you have been allowed to be back in the delivery room?
I don't know. Maybe they have the private room. Yeah.
Okay.
But they can. I think I'm sure. We cannot have the male nurse in the male nurse. The delivery male nurse.
Okay. What about a male doctor?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, do you believe, like what I explained a moment ago about hot and cold, or not being able to get chilled, or any of those beliefs, like I explained with the lady that I cared for? You had to eat certain. Do you have to like? Did you believe that your wife has to eat certain foods after delivery, or?
Yeah. In my culture, I think there's a limitation of food after and before delivery.
Okay.
Like my mom was there. My mom was here when the time the baby was born, and the American nurse, she gave my wife the cold water right away after delivery.
Yeah.
And my mom, she's scared about why she gave my wife like that. Because after that, you just have a warm water, hot water.
No cold water, right?
Yeah. And not vegetable, fresh.
No fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything needs to be cooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So very specific, guys. I just want to kind of wrap up. I think we could probably take a break and go for another 2 hours, because I find this fascinating. Maybe not everybody's a nerd like I am. I don't know. But I think it is so interesting to learn from other cultures. And I want you to really think about, we talked about Maslow's, right? And reaching that level of self-actualization is really about not only looking at yourself, but how can we be totally accepting of one another? And that skin color doesn't matter. The size of us doesn't matter. Our accent doesn't matter. Who we're married to doesn't matter. But being accepting, and not just accepting, not just tolerating, but truly enjoying the differences that we have among ourselves, right? And how do we embrace that? How do we learn from each other? And one of the things that I did want to make a comment about, my son and I were talking about that earlier, is making sure that you know the correct terms for things. We talked about that in the morning class also. And for example, it was brought up in the morning class that if you are someone with, let's say, dark skin, right? In America, years ago, especially if you were from the South in America, you were taught not to say the terrible N-word, right? Which is terrible. But they also were taught that a more polite way was to use the term colored. Well, now that would be offensive to many, right? But what I want you to remember about that is when they were being raised, that was what they were told to be respectful. That they were to say that to be respectful. And they're 90 years old. They're not out Googling what's the correct term anymore, right? So I want to caution you on that a little bit, because you are going to encounter older people who may not know the right term for things. Mrs. Egler had brought it up because she knows someone that uses that term. But in their mind, they believe that they're being very respectful, right? So I want to just kind of caution you about that. Using the correct terminology, even in the gay community.
Yeah, I think, while I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to ask about somebody's specific journey unless it relates to their medical care, I think a blanket question that you can always ask to anybody, and it's actually super appreciated, is how would you like to be referred to?
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah, because
I have a question
now.
to that real quick.
Yeah.
So let's say, you know, sometimes, especially, I'm someone who, you know, says Mr. and Mrs. Like, I always do, and I don't mean anything by it, but, you know, some people in transition may look one or the other.
Right.
And I do it, and I don't mean to, and I'm fine being corrected, and I'll immediately change and apologize and move on and whatever, but if you offend someone and clearly they're hurt, what can you do to turn it around? Because sometimes you don't mean to, because you walk in and
I think if you just acknowledge, for lack of a better term, if you kind of acknowledge your ignorance and apologize, that's all you can do. Yeah.
Well, and so I just wanted to say that, you know, remember to keep up on your language and what is appropriate terms. But when somebody is behaving in a more respectful way, but maybe they use an incorrect term that's outdated, don't necessarily assume that it was being used in a disrespectful manner, is what I want to say. I know my daughter is Asian, and my daughter has, when my husband was talking to someone that was definitely someone that wouldn't have been up on the correct term, ended up calling her this term, and he came home and told me about it, and I said, so how did you react? And he said, he's like, he didn't know. He's like, why am I going to get mad? He didn't know that was an outdated term that you don't use anymore. Yes?
I just have a quick piggyback on that. As far as being an African American woman working in healthcare, I used to work in administration of healthcare, and I'm face to face with people all day, and these people aren't necessarily always old, like 80, 90 years old.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're in their 50s and 60s as well, to where, you know, I had a gentleman come to the window, you know, I'm helping him, and he told me, oh, the colored girl helped me in the back. I'm in my mid-20s, so I'm like, well, whoa, wait a minute, you know, so I had to step away because that's not something that I've had to experience directly. I've experienced it, but not directly. And to the point where, and he got mad because I walked away, you know, and then he said, well, this colored girl did this. So I'm like, you know what, somebody else has to handle this until I learn how to calm myself and handle it a different way. It still wasn't acceptable to me, but it was something that I had to deal with or leave my job, you know, so it's kind of...
Well, one of the girls from the morning class, she's an aide at a tech at a long-term care facility, and she said she is called that all the time.
All the time.
And she said that all she says is, oh, well, Mrs. Whoever, my name is this.
Mm-hmm. And it's really bad in Alzheimer's patients, too.
Yes.
When you do get to the older population.
Yes.
To where you may be called the N-word. You've been called the N-word, or you're called, you know, out of your race completely.
Yes.
And they won't even let you help them sometimes,
well,
you know.
And there are still people in our society that's prejudiced.
Yeah.
Right?
And
that act in a discriminatory way against someone because of their ethnicity.
Yeah.
You know? I know my daughter, when she was younger, people would come up to her in school and they would pull their eyes back like this. You know? Well, I mean, we know that, right? That's kind of maybe put her because she's Asian, right? So, but there are inappropriate terms to describe someone of Asian descent, just like there's inappropriate terms to describe someone with darker colored skin. And the other thing that I want to point out that I don't think, did I talk about in this group already the difference between called Black or African American? I didn't say that in this group yet, has I? I just want to say one thing about that, because we had a great discussion last semester with my group about what do they want to be called? Black, African American? Let's have an open discussion about this, right? Because we need to talk about these things. And it was it blew my mind. It really did. It was so fascinating because I had a couple of younger girls that were in the room, and they said that when they are called African American, they are offended. They said, I am Black. Period. I am Black. I want to be called Black. I am not even from Africa. And that offended them when they were called African American. I had an older dark-skinned lady that raised her hand, and she said, if you call me black, I'm offended. I want to be called African American. The reason I'm pointing this, and we had a great discussion. I mean, it went back and forth, and everybody was chiming in. What I want to say is it kind of makes you feel like we never know, none of us ever know what's right, sometimes. And just like with my daughter, you know, the old term Oriental, or, well, I won't even use the bad C word, just like I won't use the bad N word. But not understanding, and sometimes it's just a matter of getting online and researching it, right?
Well, and just asking. I think it's okay to ask if it comes from a genuine place.
Right.
And it's not invasive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I know for a while the term homosexual was considered derogatory.
Well, I think, you know.
And now it's more gay and lesbian.
Well,
right?
A lot of people now are identifying as queer, which is an umbrella term that a lot of people within the LGBTQIA community can be considered, or they can consider themselves queer. So it is a little bit of a catch-all term, and it's meant to kind of unify the community under one umbrella term. But there are a lot of people that are older, gay people that won't identify as queer. They would identify as gay because queer used to be derogatory.
Yes.
So there's, every community is going to have that sort of, you know.
Well, and how many times are, you know, young people, you know, they'll start laughing and joking about something, and they'll say, "Oh, you're so gay."
Yeah.
You know, meaning it in a derogatory way. Yes.
In my community, like the gay people are considered like God's people.
Yeah.
So like they don't work, they don't have any jobs, but like they came on the day of marriages, or when the people
They
have
come on the day of what?
marriage. Like when people have marriage, they go over there on marriage.
Oh, marriage.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, or when they deliver a baby, they go over there, then people give them money. They consider like,
His face.
Like,
can I get on some of that?
You want some money, right?
That sounds lovely. Yeah.
Well, because, and also, and you guys are all from kind of different cultures too, and I want all of you to even think about how are gay people viewed in your culture? Because is it fair? Is it right?
Like nobody want to like mad the gay people because they say like it's God's people. Their blessing are so good for them.
Yeah.
Like they give them money.
Oh, hey.
Bomb.
That's good, man.
Sounds bomb.
All right, guys. These guys, anybody